Hey kids, so what we're going to be doing in this video is you're going to be adding on to your verb flip chart. So your verb flip chart is the green one, okay? And what we're going to be doing is we're going to be filling in the conjugation number columns and the person columns. You should already have the index cards taped in here from the very first video. So you're going to need a pencil, your verb flip chart, and a highlighter. Let's go ahead and get started. Okay. So what we are doing today is we are going to be learning about verbs. So you're going to be building your flip chart with the information about how verbs end, what they look like, etc. This is a tool you'll be able to use during class, during translations, with your tests and assessments up through, after the midterm. So you want to do this well, okay? So the learning goal of this meets is students will read verbs of the first, second, third, fourth, and irregular conjugations in all of the different tenses. Don't worry, we're just going to be starting with present tense at this point. The learning target with this topic is I can conjugate verbs of the present tense with my flip chart. So you're not going to have to memorize anything at the moment. You're going to be learning how to use it, learning verb endings, etc., and then eventually having to do it without the flip chart, but not for quite a while. All right, so let's get started. Yes, seriously, verbs are super duper fun. Okay, so I want you to go to the conjugation number column. Okay, that is on the bottom half of your flip chart to the left. You should have 5 note cards there. So the first thing you're going to do is on the tab of the top note card, the very first one, you're going to write the words first conjugation dash ARE. And you'll notice the A has a long mark or a macron over it. So please put that on the tab of the top note card, the one that you see the full note card of in the conjugation number column. On the note card part itself, you are going to write the word root. Then you're going to write step 1, take the infinitive. Step 2, cut off the RE. Now I'm going to move along because this is a video and you can pause it. Okay, so pause it here, finish the front of the note card, and then you're going to flip the note card to the back. On the back of the note card, you're going to write the word examples, and then you're going to write the verb amo, amara. If you don't know what this means, you should look it up and write the meaning next to it as well. So, how do you find the root of amo, amara? Well, we know this is a first conjugation verb because it has a long ARE at the end. If we take off the RE, we've got ama, and that's the root of our verb. A second example is paro, parare, and that's from this week's list. This word means to prepare. First of all, how do we know it's a first conjugation verb? Because the infinitive ends in ARE. So then how do we find the root? We go to the infinitive and cut off the RE, and the root is para. A third example of the first conjugation is porto, portare. Porto, portare. We've had this word in the past. If you don't know what it means, please look it up and write it right next to it. How do we know it's first conjugation verb? Because it is a long ARE. So how do we find the root? Cut off the RE, and that gives us the root porta. Okay? So that is the first note card. Once you're finished filling that in, look right below to the second note card, and let's start filling that one out. So on the second note card, on the title edge, like below the pink line, you're going to write the words second conjugation, and then the ending is ERE with a long mark over the first E. That long mark is super duper important, okay? These conjugation numbers are like the families for the verbs. It's how we organize and differentiate them. So the long mark over the E is actually super duper important, okay? So what are you going to write on the note card itself? First, write the word root. Number 1, take the infinitive. Number 2, cut off the RE, which would leave that E, okay? So this should look quite familiar. This is the same as the first conjugation process. So go ahead and pause. When you're finished, flip the note card. So on the back of the note card, you're going to write examples again. And the first example is the verb dokeo, dokera. So dokeo, this is the first word in the dictionary listing. This is called the first principal part. The second word, called the second principal part, is the infinitive. And you can tell it's the infinitive because of the RE ending. We know it's second conjugation because of the E with a long mark, RE ending. So how do we find the root? Cut off the RE, and that leaves you with doke. This word means to teach, like a documentary teaches you about something historical. The second example is habeo habera. So this is the first principal part, and then your infinitive is the second principal part. How do I know it's second conjugation? Because of the ERE with a long mark. So how do I find my root? I cut off the RE. A third example is the word sedeo sedera. Hopefully you know this word. It's from the very first chapter, and if you don't, I want you to go ahead and look it up and write the meaning. How do I know it's third conjugation? Because I have the ERE with the long mark in the second principal part. So now that I know it's second conjugation, I know how to find the root. I'm going to cut off the RE, which leaves me with sede. So finish the back of this note card and look down to the third conjugation note card. Pause the video at any time if I'm moving too quickly. So you'll notice this one is set up a little differently. The third conjugation is the worst conjugation. You know, every language has like a section in it where you're like, why did they do this to me? Like it feels personal. It's so complicated. That's the third conjugation verb. So on the tab, so below the pink line, write third conjugation, and you'll notice what's in quotes is ERE, no long mark. Okay? This differentiates the third conjugation from the second conjugation. So you're going to kind of divide this into like a top area that is like 1/3 of the note card, and you're going to write the 2 steps for the root. So step number 1 is to take the first principal part. That's the one that ended in O. And step number 2 is to cut off the O. And you'll notice this is different from the previous 2 conjugations. And then just like on my example note card, you're going to make 2 sections right below it. In the first section, you're going to write present tense note, and then you're going to write all of that. I didn't write it on my note card because I know the rules and I don't feel like rewriting them. So you write all of that. And kids, the number one mistake I see from students is they write that and they can't read it. This notebook doesn't make any sense to you. It doesn't help you at all if you can't read your own writing. So take your time and write this clearly. I know it's not a lot of space. It's the best I can do. Okay? On the other side, write the words imperfect tense note, but then you're going to leave the actual instructions blank because we're only going to be learning the present tense right now. Go ahead and pause the video and then flip over to the back side of third conjugation. So now that you're on the back side, just like on the previous note cards, you're going to write examples. Okay? So the first example is the words kokwo kokwara. Now, how do I know this is third conjugation? I know it's third conjugation because there's a short ERE, okay, no long mark. So how am I going to form the root? Well, if you remember with this one, forming the root is different. I have to go to the first principal part. So I'm going to go to the first principal part and I'm going to cut off the O. And some of you who are very observant, intelligent students will go, isn't that just the same? It's not. Okay, I need you to trust me on this. Just cut off the O. So the root for this verb, which means to cook, okay, is COQU. The next example is conspicio conspicere. I know this is third conjugation because of the short ERE. I'm going to go to the first principal part, cut off the O, which leaves me with conspici. That I does remain, okay, because I just cut off the O. And of course, this verb is a verb we've been talking about quite a lot lately, and it means to catch sight of. So please make sure you write that down. The third verb in this example set is surgo surgere, and you're going to want to notice that it has a short ERE, which makes it third conjugation. That's how you know it belongs to the third conjugation family. So I'm going to find the root by cutting off the O from the first principal part, which gives me the root surg. Okay? And this word is a word that we've had, but I will tell you because we haven't seen it very often. It means to wake up. okay? Now, if you flip to the next note card, once you're ready, feel free to pause the video. The next note card, if you're following the pattern, this one is the fourth conjugation. So the fourth conjugation is indicated by the I with a long mark, RE. So you're going to need to do the setting up the way you did with the previous one, okay? So you'll, at the top third of the note card, put root. And the root for the fourth conjugation is actually the same as the second and the first. You take the infinitive, you cut off the RE, okay? So what you'll notice, though, is there are two boxes, just like there were for the third conjugation. So in the box to the left, it's shorter than the previous one, so that's nice. You're going to write present tense note. And then you're going to write this, much less to write, which is really nice. On the box on the right, you're going to write the phrase imperfect tense note, and then you're going to leave it blank because we're not going to learn that right now. When you're finished, so pause, and when you're finished, flip to the back of the fourth conjugation note card. What you'll notice here is you're going to write the word examples again, and then you're going to write the example audio audire. Audio audire. This is a word we've had before. It's one of our senses, one of our 5 senses, okay? So how do I find the root? Well, I know it's a fourth conjugation verb because of the IRE. I'm going to find the root by cutting off the O. So the root is audi. Second example, do you know what dormio dormire means? This is a word we've had before. We get the derivative dormitory from it, okay? Or dormant, like a volcano. The root, we know it's fourth conjugation because it ends in IRE. We find the root by cutting off the RE, which gives us dormi, okay? And then a final fourth conjugation example is the word neschio nescire. Neschio nescire, we know it's fourth conjugation because it ends in IRE with a long mark. So to find the root, we're going to cut off the RE, and that gives us nesci. This is a new vocab word. Neschio nescire means not to know. So like if you wanted to say, I don't know, you'd say neschio, okay? When you're finished with this, let's turn to the final note card, the one at the very bottom. So just like every other language, Latin has irregular verbs. And the reason languages have irregular verbs is because humans are flawed and we mess up. And what happens is over time, some mess ups just stick, like the word irregardless. Until this past year, irregardless was not a word. It was just regardless. Regardless is the word. But somebody, probably a politician, somebody in the news said irregardless, and then other people started saying it, and now it's in the dictionary as like a real word. This is very irritating because it's not a real word. But that's why we get irregulars, because somebody says it, somebody else says it, and then suddenly it's a word, okay? So in Latin, this fifth tab in the conjugation number column, under the pink line, please write irregular verbs. And then I want you to write this sentence on the note card. These verbs do not follow a specific pattern in their roots. I made it really, really bold because this makes me so angry as a learner and as a teacher. And then you can shake your fist. You don't need to write that. Then I made her shaking her fist because irregular verbs are stupid. But they existed. And since they're 2,500 years old, we can't change that, okay? So go ahead and flip it to the back. So essentially for the irregular verb note card, I'm just going to have you write down the examples. I'm not going to have you write down like roots because there are no roots. There are no regular roots for them. So the first example and the most common example is the verb som esse, and that means to be. You have most commonly seen this verb in its forms est, it is, or sunt, they are. The second example is the word volo vele. Again, another verb you've seen. Want, right? We get the word volunteer from it, voluntary, involuntary, volition. These are some derivatives. And there are 6 irregular verbs, but I'm just going to put 3 on the back just as examples. Possum posse actually comes from the verb som esse, but instead of just to be, it is to be able. So those are the 5 conjugation number note cards, okay? So go ahead and pause, take a breath, and then we're going to learn about verb, number. Okay, kids, so now I want you to turn your attention to the person column. You have 3 note cards in the person column. Let's start with the top one. So what you're going to write at the bottom of the note card is first person. First person and then colon, which is dot dot. And the 2 examples of the first person are I and we. And then above on the actual note card, I want you to make 3 columns. In the first column, you're going to put singular, and then 3 lines down, write the word plural. In the second column, you're going to write the word ego, and then in the line below it, write the word I in parenthetical. Skip a line, go down to the next one, write nos, and then in the line below that, write we in a parenthetical. The word ego in Latin means I, like I am doing something. The word nos in Latin means we, like we are doing something. In the third column, I want you to write the letter O in quotes. If a Latin verb ends in the letter O, then I am doing the action. You don't actually even need to have the word ego in the sentence. If you have a verb that ends in O, I am the doer. 3 lines down, I want you to write mus in quotes. Because if you have a verb that ends in mus, then we are doing the action. You don't have to have the word nos. You can just have the word ending in mus. And then we are the doers. And that's it. Let's flip to the second note card. Okay, so now we're in the second note card of the 3 note cards in the person column. And on the tab underneath the pink line, you're going to write the words second person, colon, you, comma, y'all. Okay? On the top of the note card, just like on the previous one, you're going to make 3 columns. In the first column, you're going to write singular, then skip 3 lines, and then write plural. In the second column, you're going to write the Latin word to, T-U. On the line below it, you'll write the word you in parenthetical. Skip a line. Then on the next line, write the word vos, V-O-S. On the line below it, write y'all in a parenthetical. And then if you go to the third column, right next to to, you're going to write the ending s. When you have a verb that ends in s, then the word you is the subject. For example, amas means you love. For the plural, you're going to write the ending tis. When you have the ending of tis on a verb, the verb means y'all are doing the action. So for example, docatus, y'all teach. And that is the second person of Latin, you and y'all. Now let's go to the third person. Okay, so here we are in the final note card of the series of the person column. And again, if you've been following the pattern, this is the third person. So underneath the pink line, label this third person. And the English words you're going to write here on the tab are he/she/it. And then below that, the word they. Up above, you're going to make 3 columns, just like we have before. The first column, the column on the left, put singular, and then skip 3 lines, or skip 2 lines rather, and go plural. In the next column, there is no Latin word for he, she, or it. So you're just going to put a dash here, okay? In the line below it, in parenthetical, please put he/she/it. Skip a line. On the line below that, put a dash. On the line below that, put they in parenthetical. Now let's go to the next column. Next to the upper dash, please put the ending T. As you know, when a verb ends in T, he, she, or it are doing the action. Skip 2 lines and write the letters NT. Again, as you know, because we've been seeing this for the first marking period, when a verb ends in NT, then they are doing the action. Finish writing that, and you've finished with verb person. Okay, kids, so that's it for the second installment of the verb flip chart. As you can imagine, there's more to come, some sooner rather than later, but most of it actually comes in the second semester. We're only going to be adding 2 more things to the verb flip chart prior to the midterm. So, good job. Please make sure you have this in class on Monday. We will be using the noun and verb flip charts in almost every class for the rest of the year. Okay, so please complete this work and please always have it with you. Thanks, kids. I hope you have a good weekend.